Good morning. I am calling to order the first part of our meeting, and just to not keep it from being as little confusing as possible. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have the Board of Directors annual meeting really quick, and then we will adjourn that and immediately go into our regular Board of Directors meeting. So let's go ahead and call to order this first meeting and establish a quorum. Andy?
You need 7 for a quorum. I count a bunch more than that in the room. Would you like to go around and do self-introductions to kind of get started?
If we do introductions now, we're going to do them once, though. We're not going to do them
right. Yep.
Okay, go ahead to my left.
Dick Ellsner, Park County.
Dave Donaldson, City Council, Colorado Springs.
Andy Gunning, PPACG.
Mitch LaKine, Mayor of Monument.
Roland Gardine, Mayor Pro Tem Callahan.
John Graham, Mayor, City of Manitou Springs.
Todd Dixon, Mayor, Green Mountain Falls.
Lynette Kreis, Crow Iverson, City Council, Colorado Springs.
Hannah Parsons, Transportation Commissioner, District 9.
Jeff Bond, Peterson, Schriever, Cheyenne Mountain, Space Force Station.
Yolanda.
Holly Williams, El Paso County.
And we're being joined by Commissioner Vanderwerth walking in the room. Good morning. And on the phone, we have William Shaw from Rama. If you want to go ahead and unmute when I call your name.
Yeah, this is Mayor Pro Tem William Shaw from the town of Rama. It's nice to see everybody today.
All right, good morning. And Kelly Case, Woodland Park.
Good morning, Mayor Pro Tem. Kelly here.
Okay.
And my apologies for not being there in person.
Okay, Dietrich Duncan from Fountain. And Steve King from Monument.
Steve King, Mayor Pro Tem of Monument.
I'm sorry. Okay, I thought somebody said something. Okay, alrighty, we have 3 action items on our agenda today for our really quick Board of Directors annual meeting. We have election of officers for the PPACG Board of Directors. And who on that committee wants to do that report? Go ahead, Mayor Dixon.
I can if you'd like. Mayor Todd Dixon. We had 5 names, 5 positions. 2 of the names actually attached a potential position, and we decided to keep. It'd be best to keep the treasurer on for another term. And so you'll see in front of you our recommendations for the various positions.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for serving on that committee. And so that is the recommendation of the committee. So that does not require a second, is my understanding. All of you who are meeting gurus, nod your heads yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm looking at the meeting guru.
All right. Okay. All righty. So we have a recommendation from the committee chair, myself, Sharon Thompson, first vice chair, Holly Williams, second vice chair, Dave Donaldson, treasurer, Eric Stone, and secretary, Kelly Case. All in favor of that recommended state, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you, everybody. We have item B, the Colorado Open Meetings and Records Compliance. Is Jared handling that or Andy?
I'm happy to. This is just annual stuff where we will post our meeting notices. We're just listing, this is the same as last year. It's just confirming that this is where we're going to do it online on our website, as well as the 2 bulletin boards at each of our entrances.
I would move to approve the requirements or the whatever it is, the posting.
Item B.
Second.
Item B.
Yeah, second, Dave Donaldson.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on that. Do we have any further discussion on any of the posting places or anything? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. And item C, appointment of board members to committee, commissions, and boards.
Madam Chair, you have 4 sets of appointments that need to be made. STAC, Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee, and then Transit Rep to the PPACG Board of Directors, Front Range Passenger Rail District, and then Drive Smart Colorado. And we've got in the packet, and Jared, if you can maybe scroll down the existing ones that were approved. at the annual meeting last year, starting with Stack, is on the screen.
Okay. All right, so Stack, I know it looks kind of crazy that we have a lot of alternates. We're not limited on the number of alternates, so we take advantage of that. The great thing about being an alternate on Stack is getting the minutes and what is going on, so you can read through that. And then I know there's been times when I've read through it and, given Holly a holler and said, can you ask a question about this or that? So, Holly, would you be interested in staying on Stack as the primary?
I would love to stay on Stack as the primary.
Okay, alrighty, so we have first alternate Dave Donaldson, second John Leosados, fourth Yolanda, fifth Kelly Case, sixth Andrew Gunning, seventh Wayne Williams, eighth Stan Vanderwerth, ninth Eric Stone, 10th Sharon Thompson.
Oh, Wayne Williams would not be it.
Right, well, yes, but I'm reading what's on here. So we'll take Wayne Williams off. And we already had taken Nancy Hingham off since she was no longer on PPACG. So is there anybody else that I did not read your name that you'd like to be added on there as an alternate? And is there anybody who would like to move around their position in being the alternate?
And Madam Chair, if anyone else is, wants to be the first alternate, I'm happy to let them take that spot and I'll move down one or two or whatever. And I think we might want to have some psychiatric evaluation of Holly Williams because she seems to enjoy this and continues.
Like those 3 and 4 hour meetings?
Your Thursday.
I only survive it
gone.
because of my bi-weekly therapist appointments. Thank you.
Wholeheartedly support that mental health treatment because we like her on the Stack.
Okay, so Dave, third is kind of funny because we crossed off the person. Would you like to just flip with John Leosados? John?
Well, I think we didn't want to have John as second. We wanted an actual
Elected
board member.
official?
And I'll stay, but if
Okay.
there's someone else, it's like, man, I want to be that number one Stack alternate. And I'm happy to make your day.
Yeah.
Commissioner Vanderwerth, your mic is on?
Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were voluntolding yourself. Okay.
No,
don't
I'm
want
on
you
the
to lose
list
the
number
point.
8 and
And
I'll
you're
just,
You're happy.
I'm
with
happy
number-
there and just somewhere towards the bottom, I'm perfectly happy being in that place. I will mention though, that what's nice about being on the list is it means you get the announcements and the agendas and so forth. And for those of you that maybe want to see that, getting on the list, even if you're towards the bottom, means you get that. And I think that's pretty helpful.
And Andy, is there something in here about we need to make sure our rep on Stack is in our TPR?
MPO area,
MPO.
yes, and we're gonna clean that up in the board bylaws to make sure we don't, so we can deconflict it with the Central Front Range TPR, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we had our meeting of the Central Front Range Monday. And, we're trying to figure out how we can coordinate with PPACG and the MPO to not have that overlap. So far, it's working well because I'm the Stack rep from the Central Front Range, so that didn't change. And so Holly and I get to sit next to each other at the meetings when we're in there in person and laugh at things. Anyway.
Okay. Yes, Dan.
Yes, thank you. Well, I mean, there may be others that are going to speak up and say they may take be interested in that first alternate position, but notwithstanding that, I would be absolutely fine with Dave remaining in that position. And also would say that means that Dave, you and Holly together should seek mental health evaluations. So, but I would be perfectly fine with Dave remaining in the position again. To his point, unless somebody else is just really burning to be there.
Okay. All right. Well, if everybody stays in the same slots they're at because of the few changes we've had of in and out, that would leave Dave Donaldson as first alternate, John Leosato second alternate. Yolanda would move up to third alternate because of Nancy Hingham not being on PPACG any longer. That's the safe zone. Okay. Fourth would be Kelly Case. Fifth would be Andrew Gunning. Sixth would be Stan Vanderwerth. Seventh would be Eric Stone, and eighth would be Sharon Thompson. Yes, Mitch.
I am fine with you adding me to the bottom of the list.
Me too, actually, because I
Okay.
really want the minutes, but I don't want to take any fun away from Dave.
Okay. All right. So Mitch is 9th and
I'll be
Grant
10.
is 10. Okay. Last call. Feel like I'm running an auction here. All right. What would the board like to do with this then? Yes.
I would move to approve the list.
Move to approve. Second, Yolanda. Okay, we have a motion and second for approval of the new list. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All righty, the next one we have is the transportation representative. In the transportation representative, you have to have a metropolitan, you have to have a bus and stuff.
Transit service,
Transit
yes,
services,
within your
thank you.
jurisdiction, right.
All right, so that rotates back and forth between myself, Yolanda being the primary. So since Colorado Springs was the primary in 2023, that means Fountain will be the primary in 2024. And Colorado Springs, Yolanda, are you staying on as the alternate for there? Okay. Okay, all righty. Do we need to vote on that, Andy?
Sure.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then we go on to the Front Range Passenger Rail District. John Graham, thank you for serving in that position, but you stated, I think, last meeting that you were not going to do that, and I was the first alternate and Mitch was the second alternate. Sort of like a non-official thing since we weren't ever sure if they had an alternate, but we were getting the notes and things from that. So anyways, so is there anyone else who would like to be the primary on the Front Range Passenger Rail District?
Sharon, Lynette Crow Iverson, Pro Tem City Council at Large. I would like to be considered for that.
I would like to nominate her.
As the primary?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anyone else who is interested in being the primary on that? Okay, Mayor LaKine, did you like to stay on as the alternate?
Yes, I'm fine with being the alternate.
Okay, alrighty, and I would like to stay on as the alternate too.
Sure.
All right, you want to switch and be the first alternate, Mitch?
Sure.
Okay, all right.
Spoken with so much enthusiasm.
Oh, I'm very enthusiastic about finding out how we put a light rail in Monument and Palmer Lake, so all good.
All right, so we have a nomination from Commissioner Williams.
I will make that as a motion.
Okay, a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Eric Stone.
Oh, Eric can have that second. That's fine.
All right, we have a motion and a second for Lynette Crow Iverson from Colorado Springs as the primary on the Front Range Passenger Rail District. Mitch LaKine is the first alternate and myself, Sharon Thompson, is the second alternate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. And then we have the Drive Smart Colorado Board on the, and I was the primary on that. I am not interested in serving. It just the time the board meets is the time I can no longer attend the meetings.
It's really hard. That Friday is really hard.
Yeah, for some reason it is. Yeah, and so then we have Dick Elsner and Glant Havenar, and another alternate was Roland Gardine. Is there anyone else interested in who would like to move into? Roland, would you like to move up to the primary?
That would be great, please.
Okay, I'm sorry, what?
When are the meetings?
I don't think it was just one primary and alternates.
There's three.
There's three.
Three regular members.
Three
Yeah.
regular members, they aren't alternates.
Three regular members and
Okay.
one alternate.
Okay.
Yes.
And mid-year, a reminder, Madam Chair, you stepped back and then Mayor Pro Tem Gardine stepped in. So he's been a regular for, I think, the second half of 2023.
Great.
And I'm doing my best in reading the minutes, but the meeting's like right in the middle of everything.
So would you
I'd rather be the alternate.
rather be the alternate? Okay. Is there anyone else who's interested in being one of the three primaries? I have,
I want to know when the meeting is and what day and what time.
it's a Friday.
Friday at like 11.
John, they're on
11 a.m.
which Friday of the month? And things are, I will let you know, things are going to ramp up in 2024. Now that we've got a safety champion on board with Trish, you met last month, and we got a safety grant to put together a plan for the region. Things are going to really start taking off, we think, with Drive Smarts. Which day of the month do we recall?
So
Okay.
the Drive Smart Colorado Board meets quarterly. On the last month of that quarter, it is the third Friday at I think 9:30 or 10.
So
I
that
would like
makes it
to do
even
it.
tougher. Okay. So, okay, so Yolanda as a primary. A primary, right? Okay.
Okay,
And Dick, were you interested in staying on that?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. I'm
and
sorry.
I'd still like to stay on there, please.
Right,
Then I'll move to the alternate.
yes. Okay. Mayor Graham, your light is on.
Sorry, thank you.
Commissioner Vanderworth, your light is on.
My apologies.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I'm getting everybody who wants to say something.
No, thank you.
Okay, was there, okay. So we have for the primary on the Drive Smart Board, Roland Gardine, Dick Elsner, Yolanda Avila, and Glant Havenar as the alternate. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, all in favor of that board for Drive Smart Colorado, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, that passes. All righty, let's make sure we are, I think we are done, but I've lost the agenda.
I would say move to adjourn.
Okay, move to adjourn. Thank you. I flipped the wrong page, and with things being back to back. All right. I am calling to order the Board of Directors meetings for January 10th for the Pikes Peak Area Council of Government. We have already established a quorum from the previous meeting, and it looks like no one has come or gone. Have we added anyone online? Okay, all righty. So we have our established quorum and we have the introductions done. Next item, agenda approval.
I would move to approve the agenda.
Okay, we have and
Yolanda second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That takes us on to item 3, introductions, public comments, and presentations. A, public comments. Public comments can be made before or during the meeting. Public comments during the meeting is limited to 3 minutes and can be done at the meeting location or remotely by using the posted link. Individuals are encouraged to notify the meeting organizer by email before the start of the meeting with the agenda item they would like to comment on. Public comments can be submitted before the meeting via email at ppacg@ppacg.org for distribution to the committee members. Do we have any emails that were received?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment? Anyone online?
I'll ask anyone who's online to please use the raise hand function if you'd like to provide public comment at this time. But most of the names I recognize are either going to be staff or presenters, and looks like I've vamped long enough and no hands have gone up.
Okay, thank you very much. And that takes us to item B, military installation reports.
Well, good morning, Madam Chair. Happy New Year to all. Jeff Bond with Space Base Delta One. A few items to brief. In about 40 minutes, the United States Space Command change of command ceremony will happen, and General Stephen Whiting will be the commander. General Dickinson is planning to stay local in his retirement. I'm sure you'll hear more about that as time goes on. Space Base Delta One is also supporting the Colorado Springs Mayor's Military Spouse Career Coalition meeting on January 18th at 2:30 p.m. The location has not yet been announced, but we're waiting Ms. Sally Clark's input from the mayor's office to where that's going to be. Again, we thank the city for their championing of this initiative. Finally, the Space Base Delta One is going to be meeting with Old CC January 25th for an education and orientation of Peterson and Schriever Space Force bases. The Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation is part of the Department of Defense, and their primary purpose is to serve as a key agency in supporting the local community and governments in securing grants and other funding for objectives that support military missions and functions. I believe they are going to be in town for the week, and I know that they are meeting with the community at some point. But Thursday, the 25th, is when we get to showcase our installations and help orient them to our missions at Peterson, Schriever, and Cheyenne Mountain Space Force stations. So, pending any questions, that's all I have to brief.
That's the 25th of this month?
Correct.
Okay. All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know there's a ceremony this morning at Space, I'm afraid to say it by its name, I'd get it wrong. Space Command, Space Force. Somebody correct me, that's military.
United States Space Command is having their change of command at 10 o'clock at Peterson.
Right.
Yesterday, Space Operations Command had their change of command, and Lieutenant General Brock Miller is now took General Whiting's spot as the Space Operations Command commander.
Okay. Yeah. So that's, yeah, I didn't expect anybody to be from, I was kind of surprised you were here today. So thank you for coming. Do we have anyone else online?
Madam Chair, if I could just
Yes.
point out that that Space Command, it's very much like the military. It's very close. It's a joke. As an Army guy, that was a joke.
Yeah. They do
And
have.
It's very
they do have
similar
cool-
to the
they do-
military.
They do have cool uniforms though.
And Madam Chair, appreciating Dave Donaldson's joke, I do want to let you know that that is a pretty important change of command. So I'm going to have to leave here in the middle of the PPACG meeting to go out there. I'll be representing the Board of County Commissioners. So probably about 5 or 10 more minutes I'll have, and then I'll have to move on.
All right. Well, thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. Alrighty, no further military installation reports. Okay, that takes us on to item 4, consent items. These items will be acted on as a whole unless they are called up for discussion by a board member or a citizen wishing to address the board. We have items A, B, and C.
Yolanda Avila, move to approve.
Okay.
Dick Elsner, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. Is there any deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, that passes. That takes us on to item 5, action items. I want to let y'all know I had a 26-minute council meeting last night, so I am still on a roll. And I don't think we're going to quite make that, but no pressure. All right. 5A, FY 25-20 through 29 tip draft review and release for public comment. Jessica Betchel.
Yes,
Good morning.
I will be quick so we can keep this moving. So last month we brought to you for information the FY 25-29 tip document for review, in hopes that you had time to read every page of it before today. So what we're looking for today is approval to open the public comment 30-day period, which would end on February 9th. At that time, we would bring it back to you in February for review of said public comment, and we're looking for approval of the document in March. So all of the major updates were highlighted in the document per request last month, and those were in your packets. I'm here for questions.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on the tip draft?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
no questions, but I would move to approve the release of the fiscal year 25 to 29 tip draft review for public comment.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any deliberation?
Yeah, can you get the thing any thicker?
I could try. More appendices.
Cut down a few more trees?
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderwerth, did you have a question? Your light is on. You're on a roll. You're on a roll today. Might as well continue. Okay, no further questions or comments? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, that takes us on to item B, Regional Priority Program Funding Approval. Jessica.
Yes, so this item is a request from CDOT for a contingency approval to pre-authorize moving around RPP funding amongst projects. They have a couple of projects that are going out to bid, and should those numbers come back higher than anticipated, they would like to have pre-approval to move funding from other out-year projects. And so that's what this is for. Our process of getting things through this approval can take longer than that 30-day timeframe. So those projects are outlined here in the memo. And we have CDOT on the line and in the room for questions if there's specifics.
Commissioner Williams.
I think the important thing on this was it would just be moved within our region.
Correct. Yes, the money stays within the
Okay.
region from projects and out years, just to make, should it need to be used for this year's projects.
And our region would include like if US 50 in Pueblo needs help.
That
Or is
think
that just,
it just our Pikes Peak region.
oh, it's
projects.
just the MPO.
yeah.
Okay, that's
Just-
even better.
Could you step the microphone so people online? can
John
hear?
Hall, Region 2 North Program Director, North Program Engineer, excuse me. I'm in for Shane here today. Yeah, I like that even more general interpretation, but actually this is very specific to two projects.
that these funds, they're generalized funds for 21 and 24 corridors, kind of safety funds. If we were to use these, it's two specific projects we're talking about, the Highway 67 north side of Woodland Park, which is in the PPACG boundary, and the Powers and Airport project. Those would be the two, which is obviously in PPACG boundary. So
That makes it way easier. I move approval.
Oh, I had another question.
But you can have a question too.
John, real quick. So the two projects that are on there, though, they would not kind of lose their ranking in terms of priority. They would still, if more money became available, they would stay there.
okay, well, the two projects that are on there are very generalized
Right,
scopes of work.
right.
You know, we are doing work on the 24 corridor. We have the Garrett to Woodman project. We have resurfacing projects in those boundaries. We have even a safety and passing lane project out in Calhan which is within the boundaries of that one, for example. We don't have anything specific other than Powers and Airport on the 21 corridor. I mean, I would argue that really we're moving them within corridor or within even the context of the work. We're putting funds on 21 just potentially into Powers and Airport itself. So I think my answer to that is just that there's not really specific scope of work that is either going away or was there for those projects right now. We're using it for the intended purpose, I would say.
Okay,
On those.
thank you. All right. Okay, so we had a motion on the floor.
Mhm.
And do we have a second?
Second, Eric Stone.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, that passes.
Thank you.
That takes us on to C, freight study adoption. Jason.
Good morning, Jason O'Brien, PPACG Transportation Planner. Be chatting with you this morning about the Regional Freight Mobility Study. Make sure I'm sharing here. Sorry, I'm not seeing my PowerPoint in my share list. Bear with me just a second.
Trying to keep things moving.
We see it on the screen here.
Yeah, yeah, that's the agenda item page. Wondering why it's not letting me up here, Jerry.
I've seen it before.
We could move on to all in favor.
Of open meetings.
Yes, but we could just move on to all of,
Yeah.
approve it, and then you can give the.
Well, like I said, some of them have questions.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got it. Sorry, there's been an update. There's a different button. I'm with you now. Okay, so the Regional Freight Mobility Study is one of our modal plans that's going to feed into our long-range transportation plan that we've been talking about, along with a few others. I'll try to keep this short. I'm just going to get right into why we would do a freight mobility study. So first off, there hasn't been one. As far as we can find, there hasn't ever been a freight-focused plan or study in the region, not regionally or from any of our member governments. So there's some questions that have never really been answered. Interesting things like what are we shipping through the region? Is it high tech? Is it high value? Is it hazardous? You know, what's being shipped? How much of it is there? What routes are they using? Other questions like what is our trade balance as a region? Are we net producers or consumers, or so all that type of information? That's one reason. Another is that freight shipping is constantly increasing with e-commerce. Every year it goes up and no end in sight. So the dollar value and the bulk of goods that are moving through the region is going to keep right on going up. Regional organizations are getting involved in freight planning around the country to the great advantage of those regions economically and in terms of their infrastructure. It's a major factor in business location decisions and job growth. So that's a big deal. It also affects infrastructure condition, road safety, and traffic volumes. And just a couple of figures here. There's a 40% increase in the bulk of goods moved by 2040. So major increase. And excluding military, there are over 21,000 jobs directly dependent on freight shipping in the region. So it's a big deal. The purpose would really be to support our economic competitiveness as a region and attractiveness to freight reliant industries. Support our member governments and freight related funding pursuits. So this could be grants, they could be state and federal project prioritization processes, provide the basis for a future plan. And I'd also just note that it's a study, not a plan. There's not much in the study that's prescriptive, that we're going to spend this month, these funds on this project in this year. It's more about existing conditions, data and analysis, again, to support need statements and other information that member governments might want in their funding pursuits. We were heavy on stakeholder processing collaboration. There's some thank yous to go out here. We work with private industries, some of that facilitated by the Chamber and EDC. So we're grateful to them. Amazon was willing to talk with us. We found out some interesting things from them. I don't know how many are aware that our Amazon warehouse in Colorado Springs is actually the largest structure in the state of Colorado. It's the biggest building. Obviously, we worked with our TAC and our member government staff and just had a lot of good conversations, and should also thank CDOT for helping provide match funding for the project. Our main methods was a strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. So that's the main deliverable we wanted to get to. A quick run through of the project timeline. Concept has been around for a few years. Got our funding in 22. Early this year, we hired Cambridge Systematics to lead the project. They're a great choice, lots of technical expertise in freight. They're also leading state of Colorado freight planning efforts. So they were able to leverage a lot of good information and data so that we didn't have to buy again as a region. And then in October and November, the study came to this board as an information item. In November, there was an in-depth workshop for those who were interested. And then as of last month, December 23, the TAC and the CAC do recommend adoption of the regional freight mobility study. I'm going to quickly run through a little bit of content from the study. Very far from exhaustive, but just sort of a representative sampling of the kind of data and information that can be found in there. So just a few quick graphics here. So there's a lot of information about things like the tonnage and value of freight, how it's moving, whether it's moving by truck or train, information like that. You can see reflected here that big increase by 2040. So there's a good depth of data like that in the study. This is a truck percentage map. So where are the trucks? You know, which are the facilities they're carrying a higher percentage of truck traffic versus all traffic? This is a truck travel reliability graphic right here. So this shows the ability of trucks, of freight shipping to get where they're going reliably in the region. So you can see that sort of east-west problem we have reflected in this. And then we've got a map of things like weight restrictions, bridge height restrictions, and these are important because they cause detours. If you're driving a truck and you have chosen a logical route through the region, a lot of the time you can't take that logical route. You'll have to take a long detour, you know, adding to traffic and safety concerns and other things because there'll be a bridge that's too low or a road with weight limitations. So we've got some of that information. Freight reliant employment clusters is another one. What you won't see on here is military related freight. So if this is private industry, but if that were shown, there would be kind of another dark spot toward the southern end of the map where Fort Carson is. But we thought that kind of information would be useful, and there's more depth of information on that in the study as well, just to sample. Large vehicle related injury and fatality crashes. It's worthy of note that Pikes Peak region has the best crash data in the state of Colorado. So we were excited to use that to show where our trucks are getting into crashes. And finally, priority corridors. We called this the Vision Freight Network. And the reason we want to have something like this is pretty simple. It's other than just for our awareness. If you're a member government pursuing funding, it tends to strengthen your application quite a bit to be able to say that your project is on a regionally approved priority freight corridor. So here's the SWOT analysis. I'm not going to read through all these, but I may just touch on a couple. And again, there's more depth on all of this in the study document. An example of a strength is we have a military and advanced manufacturing industry. A weakness, lack of rail access, lack of east-west connectivity. Example of an opportunity, our airport foreign trade zone and Peak Innovation Park, and potentially build out a Southern Colorado Rail Park. Just a couple of major threats. One would be the Fort Carson deployment access lacking redundancy, specifically rail redundancy, not only bad for national security, but also potentially a base realignment and closure vulnerability. So just wanted to touch on that. And finally, just some recommendations that came out of the study, like developing a regional freight plan, something more targeted, a freight working group for collaboration, tracking IAJA grant opportunities. There's still a lot out there. It's difficult for a lot of folks to take advantage of all those. And then maybe a targeted regional freight funding program, potentially for the future. And just in the interest of time, that's what I have. Would love to take any questions and then request a formal adoption of the freight study.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. On page 11 of your study, it shows in a little map there talking about the truck percentage. And I understand that this is a CDOT going back to 2019 or 2022.
Check on that really quick. And then I believe we also have our consultants on the line. If you're listening, feel free to jump in.
Yes, Jason, and I think in response to that question, that should be relatively new data pulled from CDOT system representing state highways, so it should be at the very least 2020.
Okay, I'm trying to understand, okay, when you leave Fountain and you head up toward my town or toward Lyman, you have a gap there that says light truck percentage, but yet those trucks don't just get heavier after they get past Peyton. Seems like it shouldn't be blue, it should be, man, either orange or even red.
Yes, I think I see the gap you're suggesting, and while the total volume of trucks heading east remain the same on that segment, that blue segment may have a little bit more passenger vehicle or other vehicles mixed in at that point in time. So the overall percentage relative to all traffic might actually be lower. And then, as some of that maybe passenger travel drops off, agricultural travel drops off, you're going to get a little bit of the orange and red further east where there are just more trucks. So the trucks aren't disappearing. It is just relative to the total there.
The reason is because, man, the amount of wear and tear on the road is significant on 24 in that area. Okay, and so then I think the truck tonnage, I think that doesn't reflect exactly what's going on there. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Commissioner Eldner.
Yeah, I was just going to talk to you also. This is just a percentage of trucks. It doesn't have anything to do with weight. Because if you look at Park County, if you'll notice in the upper right corner, we've got red all the way to where everybody lives in Park County. So we've got trucks getting to that point. They continue on, but then you're getting a whole lot of our residents that get on the highway and drive to Denver. So the percentage of vehicles that are in that area goes down. And that's what this is reflecting, is just the percentage. So you may have 100 trucks with no cars. Well, you're 100%. You hit that one point. Now you have 1,000 cars on there because everybody's going to Denver to work, and it drops down to a much lower percentage.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at the tonnage minute and the wear and tear on the road in that particular area. That's what I'm looking at more. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Stone?
Yeah, not seeing any other questions. I would move adoption of the regional freight mobility study for January 2024 as presented.
Second.
I just want to make a comment.
Okay.
The Amazon warehouses in Colorado Springs in District 4, my district.
Okay. But your traffic is in Fountain. Okay. Okay. All righty. Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further deliberation or? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you very much. And I really, really hope communities will take advantage of this so this does not sit on the shelf. I know Fountain's going to be using it for something they're doing with the rail yard down there, but it's great information. So thank you very much. All right. That takes us on to item D, the 2024 work plan adoption. Andrew Gunning.
Sure. Just very briefly, Madam Chair, each year you adopt a plan for what our main project, our main activities are going to be for the calendar year, and this is for 2024. I'll take 30 seconds just to highlight a few things. In the AAA, one of the big initiatives we're working on right now is going through the RFP process to allocate funds to our service providers for the next 2-year period. That's sort of a big deal. And then just a bunch of other work that's happening under the 4-year plan that was adopted by the board around this time last year in 2023. Transportation, obviously, you know about our long-range transportation plan that goes out to the year 2050. We need to bring that to the board by the end of this year or no later than January of 2025. And just a lot of moving parts that are part of that process also, including updating the transit plan, updating the specialized transit plan, doing an active transportation plan, and just a lot of work happening in that space. And then also we're focusing a lot on safety related initiatives and putting a safety plan together this year as well. So, and just a lot of other things happening in the transportation world. In military planning, I'll mention that we are proposing to go after another grant to help with military related community/installation related projects, so we can make sure that we on the community side aren't doing things that negatively impact our installations. So I'm going to have Paul Rochette brief the board next month on what our proposed scope is going to be for next year. You heard Jeff talk about Old CC, the Office of Local Defense Communities Cooperative. We work closely with them, and that's where we get our grants for these implementation projects. So we'll have a big focus on wildfire mitigation, actually on affordable housing as well for service members that are at the median and lower income range and struggling obviously to find housing in the community. So we'll brief on the board on that next month. Environmental, big issue there is our ongoing challenges with air quality and working with EPA, especially as they look at reviewing the standard this year and into 2025. We've got a lot of activity that's happening in that space. And then finally, I'll just mention, obviously, legislative related work is going to be a big priority, especially for the next 5 to 6 months, getting started today. So that's just a quick recap, but all the other details are in the packet and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Andy? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and go on to item E, legislative update. Andy.
I will kick this off, or actually, Jared, do you want to kick it off? And then I'll say a few words about the AAA funding issue, and then Jody will chime in as well.
Just point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Do we need to adopt that work plan?
Yes, we do.
Thank you very much.
I would move to adopt the 2024 work program as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further deliberation? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. And thank you for correcting me on that. I appreciate it. All righty. That's right. Legislative update.
I can go ahead and get started on this one. We've all got about 14 minutes and 30 seconds before the session starts up in Denver. And we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Before we start getting into specific topics, I will just reiterate for the legislative committee, we did send out a survey, I believe on Monday afternoon. If you're interested in joining that, please respond to that survey with the best times at work. We have historically been meeting on Mondays at 8:30, but the last couple of meetings have been a little light on attendance. And so we're just wanting to make sure that if there's a better date and time that works to get more individuals involved, that we're making sure we're being accommodating. So most of those times are going to be either in the mornings or in the lunch hour that you presented. So please make sure to do that. We'll go ahead and try to send the date at the end of this week because stuff is already rocking and rolling.
Madam Chair, and Jared, could you explain why that's the time we meet? Has to do with the lobbyist and when he has to be.
Yep. And so right now we're meeting at 8:30 on Mondays because the session starts, the assembly doesn't start till about 10 o'clock on Mondays. We did throw out some 8 a.m.s just because on Tuesday through Friday, those meetings begin at 9 a.m. And so that gives Dan Jablan, our lobbyist at Cherry Point Strategies, an opportunity to still meet with us, give us a briefing, and then get to work at the Capitol. The 12:30 timeframes is roughly the gap between committees. maybe not as likely to be able to get Dan, depending on how some of those morning committees run, especially towards the end of the session. So I will put in a plug for mornings, but we did throw out the afternoon options if that's better.
Commissioner
for
Elsner?
people.
Yeah, this is Dick Elsner, and as a very personal note, if you can avoid Monday, Colorado Water Congress has their state affairs meeting Monday morning, which is why I haven't been able to attend any of the meetings because I'm on the Colorado Water Congress. And that is our legislative meeting, basically where we go through all of the legislatures. So any other day but Monday would be great.
Very good.
I like Monday, but we'll see what the survey shows, right? All right, survey says, sounds like a
Survey
TV show,
says,
right?
that's right. Yeah, I could do my best, whoever the host is now. So we've already got a couple of bills that we're tracking, and I'll probably pass this on to Jody because he can speak to this much more intelligently than I can. But we've got two different efforts going on for the State Fund for Senior Services. One is through the Joint Budget Committee, which we brought to the board last December, just to be able to advocate and be able to petition for additional funding, even though we know that it's a very limited amount of additional funding that we could go for. Since then, we do have a draft bill that we were able to obtain, authored by Senator Jesse Danielson, which we included in the updated packet yesterday, and it's included in this packet now. But this would be a one-time appropriation of $5 million, as well as annual adjustment for inflation, and then a review every 3 years, just to determine if the appropriation is adequate or not. We're tracking both of these. Obviously, the draft bill could change from when we received it last month to when it gets introduced either today or tomorrow. But we are looking for permission to be able to keep our options open from the board to be able to go after whichever avenue is available to us, whether that's through the Joint Budget Committee process or through this draft bill from Senator Danielson. Unless Jody wants to pipe in with anything else.
I guess I'm just eye candy at this point because that was an excellent summary. But really, the big ask is to continue. There are multiple efforts going on. One through conversation between the JBC and the Colorado Department of Human Services, Aging and Adult Services. They were told to come up with a number, or JBC would come up with a number themselves, which for us is very exciting to know that is happening at the JBC level and the legislative level. So there's an effort going on there. We have been providing, and when I say we, and not just Region 4 Area Agency on Aging, but AAAs across the state have been providing additional information into the CDHS process in order for them to come up with that new number that's been requested by JBC. So that is one avenue that's in process. Again, this bill, the draft bill by Senator Jesse Danielson, is very promising because it's not just a one-time, but it provides those two additional steps that would become part of our process moving forward instead of just a one-time allocation. And so if you ever have any questions around the funding and how it's all determined and things like that, I'm happy to answer any questions. But that is our ask. We have several opportunities, not just to support the JBC current efforts, the bill in process, but also next week, for example, with our state Colorado Association of AAAs, we will be hosting a aging quorum at the Capitol and then visiting with legislators. And so I want to make sure that I have your support as I go to participate in that, to continue advocating for additional funding for our aging population, not just across Region 4, our 3 counties, but across the state. There will also be the potential, and we've been made aware of a potential public input opportunity in early February to speak directly to the JBC, where they open the day for public comment. We get on their agenda, and this would be a combined presentation from area agencies on aging, along with folks like our legislative analysts across the state. So that is our
ask is to continue advocating for additional funds for our older adult services.
Can I just put a clarifying point on that as well? And you'll recall from our conversation last month in December when we brought this up, this isn't net new funding. The state, what they were proposing in their budget was actually going to be a cut to senior services across the state. And we realized that the state's out of money, but they were basically proposing 2019 funding levels, which in effect, that's a cut because the population has grown and the cost of services has gone up, and there are a bunch of waiting lists across the entire state. So this is sort of a break glass kind of moment that got the attention of all the AAAs across the state. So not really looking for net new funding, but just trying to fill the gap that's really going to be created by what the state has proposed.
Commissioner Stone.
Thank you very much. As a couple year now member of the legislative committee, it's kind of refreshing to be in a proactive mode versus in a reactive mode. In the reactive mode, according to my clock, starts in 8 minutes. Obviously, just even when you look at the cost of living and the cost of local government, all of those indexes over the preceding years have gone up while this funding has remained the same. So I think it's really critical for our senior populations that we do get an adjustment from JBC, and I'm certainly willing to go up and help and testify during that as well. Also, just a note to other members of the legislative committee, you probably noticed my absence of late, and for friends in the room, I was diagnosed in November with cancer, and the good news is I'm today already in remission from the treatment, so I'm going to be able to start working back into the legislative committee here within the next couple of weeks as that goes on. But so that's all good news. But with that though, on this particular item, I would move to permit staff to work with the JBC and the bill sponsor in concert with the legislative committee to move this bill forward.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I second that motion, please.
Okay, we have a second. Any further deliberation? I would just like to say, please keep us, especially with the legislative committee starting up again, actively involved with the bill, because as you already stated, they can take legs and go in a whole different direction than we think they're going to go. So we want to always be cautious with that. But Andy, did you have something to say?
Yeah, and just also want to point out the draft letter that we do have that says everything we just talked about, that we're advocating for funding one way or another, either through the JBC, the budget development process, or through the separate piece of legislation that Jared and Jody described. Right. So yeah, right after the meeting, we will get it signed and send it off to our delegation and the JBC members.
Yeah, and if you haven't had a chance yet to read the email Andy sent out yesterday with the article in it from, I think it was Colorado Sun. Yeah. A very good article describing it, and we kind of know which senators to talk to that are in our kind of in our corner on this. So yeah. All right. So
do we need to amend the motion to include this?
What's this? I can't see that far.
It's the letter.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we were handed a letter as we were here, and I was this sent out email also, or only the room?
Late yesterday, yes.
Late yesterday, okay. All righty, so there's a letter in here, and so would you like to amend your motion to include the letter?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All right, any deliberation on that point? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, that passes. That takes us on to item, and I want to remind everybody before, I know we're doing good on time, but we do have a photo to take at the end, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We rolled right into the regular meeting. We were going to try to do it at halftime, but we kind of skipped halftime, which is fine, but
okay.
Yes.
We can Photoshop stand.
That's right.
And Madam Chair, I just want to make sure this was not an item we were looking for action on, but under digital accessibility, we were working very closely with several of your staff members to monitor the rulemaking that has taken place in regards to digital accessibility changes. There is a public comment period that you can submit written public comment by tomorrow. So if anyone wants to look at the proposed rules, I'm happy to discuss that with any staff, but I know Pasco County especially has been taking a very active role in what they've been doing and been doing a very good job at it. So
I know Fountain, we have one of our people, Lisa Godwin, on there too. So we're very concerned about that. Not that we don't want to follow the law that has, but the workability of it may not be possible because there just aren't enough places that you can get it done, and the expense is prohibitive. So, yeah.
Yeah, the complaint process has been I'd say the sticking point for most people is in the curing process. So.
Okay. All right, we got to get the rules right. Make it work good. Make it work right. Thank you for being active on that. Okay, that takes us item 6A, annual CDOT safety target study with Dave Swinka from CDOT.
I think John's gonna kick this off.
Okay. And according to people online, we should just take people's driver's license away and send them back to driver training school. Does that go with what we're saying?
Yeah, is there a motion? Can we know? Members of the board, my name is John Lusados. I'm the transportation director. I'm filling in for Danelle this morning, and I believe there is I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. I apologize. Boyan Quinn from CDOT, who's stepping in for Dave Swinka. So if he's available, go ahead and let him turn on his microphone there, Jared. So I'll try to keep this brief. This is an item you might be thinking to yourself, boy, I've got deja vu. Have I seen this before? And yes, you have. Every year, CDOT is required by federal regulation to update their safety performance measures. Then by regulation, we have 90 days as a metropolitan planning organization to either accept the CDOT planning targets or go on our own. And I have been a broken record since I've been here that there is no benefit for us going out on our own. It's all risk, zero reward. And basically, when you have your safety targets, if you do not meet these safety targets, then there are restrictions placed on your funding. So you lose some flexibility. Nobody loses funding. Funding does not go away. It's just you lose the flexibility, and then you are forced to put it under certain categories. So again, this being said, every year we bring you the CDOT safety targets. There's usually some discussion because people say, well, you're looking at saying there's a certain amount of accidents or a certain amount of fatalities. That shouldn't be acceptable. And again, then we always remind folks, we're talking about statistics, right? So if we draw a line between all the points of data, where the next point is going to be, that is what our statistical goal is. And then if it jumps beyond what is anticipated by statistics, that's when you have an issue. This is not an aspirational goal. We are not saying that any of these accidents are acceptable, which is why we've done, as a region, all of the different safety activities. So again, not an aspirational goal, but a statistical goal. And so every year, CDOT has released those numbers. And again, we have historically in the past accepted them. Hopefully you will do that again next month. So that brings me to the other sort of point. This is an informational item this month, so you have all the information. And then next month we would bring it back for adoption. If you're super comfortable, let us know, and we can put it on the consent agenda for next month instead of an action item. So with that, in the interest of time, we can turn on the camera and see. Well, first off, is the CDOT person there?
They are not.
They are not. Well, let me hope you don't call my bluff. We can have CDOT explain this, although they're not here, and take that time. Or in the interest of time, if you'd like, because this is an information item, we can sort of move on. But again, if there's any questions on why we do this or how we look at this statistical versus aspirational, also happy to discuss.
Do we have the slides that are included in the packet that you can show the slides?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and go through the slides. John, if you want to say anything to them.
All right. So the first one here is the safety performance targets for 24. And Danelle, you're on as well, since CDOT, the safety folks from CDOT didn't show up. Feel free to let me know if I'm getting something incorrect. But the targets has a 5-year rolling average. So again, they sort of drop off the previous year and they roll on the current year. For calendar year 22, they had 764 fatalities. I don't need to read this back to you, but you can see there the fatality rate when you adjust it for vehicle miles traveled, serious injuries, injury rate when you adjust it for vehicle miles traveled, and the fatal and serious injury number there. So if you can see from the previous year, there has been an increase. If there's any questions, next slide.
And the targets are based on sorry, John. I just wanted to point out that the targets are based on a 5-year rolling average. So it's all done by numbers. And David Swanka from CDOT did let us know he wasn't going to be here today. We were supposed to have a replacement, but he will be at the February meeting prior to adoption.
So again, thanks, Danelle. And then we've got the Colorado fatalities on the top part of the bar graph. And then again, you can see that overall it's trending upward, but we've had a couple of years where it's declined slightly. But then when you look at the PPACG counties, Park, Teller, El Paso, so you can see Commissioner Elsner, that Park is that orange and Teller County is the yellow, and then El Paso County is the blue. So you can see for our jurisdictional counties, El Paso County continues to sort of not be trending in the right direction, although it does seem to have sort of plateaued off a little bit, but I'm not Mr. Statistics. So, but I think overall, El Paso County would like to see those numbers decline instead of stay where they're at with slight increases.
Madam Chair, could I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Andy, maybe we've covered this before, but do we have an idea why the big jump from 2016 to 17 in El Paso County? It went from like 48 to 77 fatalities and then stayed high like that, where previously it was always, in the 40s, 50s.
Was that a report? We changed reporting? I know you asked Andy, but I'm just trying to, was it? What years are we talking? This jump in El Paso County, when we went 48 to 77, was that a change in reporting, or am I remembering incorrectly?
Because it seems huge.
Yeah.
It may be a change in reporting, because I know the record-breaking year was actually in 2018. That's when the big jump was seen in El Paso County. And then it went back down in 2019 and up in 20. So I'm not aware of anything going up 16 to 17.
Councilmember, we'll pass that question on to CDOT. Thanks, Jason.
Okay.
We'll pass that on to CDOT and we'll try to get something for you prior to the board workshop for next month.
If it's reporting, then that's a reasonable explanation.
Yeah. I've got a lot of things swirling around up here, like.
I'm sure you do, John.
Right. But I seem to remember that there was a statistical jump that had to do with the reporting of the way they did it. And so the way the number jumped, it was based on the type of facility and the agency's reporting to being more inclusive and grabbing more of those things. But we'll double check that. So don't go on Double Jeopardy and bet all the money on that one because I'm probably wrong, but we'll get you the right answer.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next slide, please.
Mayor Havenar, did you have another comment?
I'm sorry.
No, just I would also, I don't know how hard it is to break it apart, but with the fatalities, it would be interesting to know with the increase in motorcycles, how many are motorcycles, how many are cars?
I think they might actually have that data. We will make that request of CDOT as well. So far, the CDOT guys are on the hook for why the change in data and motorcycle data. See, if you don't show up to the meeting, we can assign anything to you that we want. So we will pass that along to CDOT.
And John, as an unwilling participant in the auto pedestrian accidents, there's a pedestrian piece of this as well, correct?
Yes, I believe this is all types of injuries. Is that correct, Danelle? Both.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So this should be motorcycle, pedestrian and everything, but we can see if we can break it out.
The motorcycle, actually, the next slide should have that breakout based on pedestrian, bicycle, motorcycle.
Is it the previous one?
Slides around too.
Oh, the one here, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, there you are, right there towards the bottom. We'll put a little star next to you.
45%. So it's motorcycles that are 45% up.
Oh, okay. You haven't quite rolled on. I'm sorry, what was that?
So it's according to this chart, it's saying that motorcycles are up 45% and suspected impaired. So does it have to do with recreational marijuana or just alcohol is up 63%?
Right.
What we've been told in the past is if they can prove, it's easier to prove someone is under the influence of alcohol. So once they can prove that, they don't usually go on to any others factors within it because they're a little bit harder to prove. So I'm going to guesstimate, and again, they can correct this for us. It probably is alcohol. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll continue to run through the
All right.
numbers, I believe is the request. Next slide.
I think that's it. Oh,
Oh, okay.
no, I don't have.
I apologize. I bounced around knowing that we had a slide on the motorcycles. So
okay.
that was the last slide. We
Uh,
really didn't touch on serious injuries, but we can.
Serious injuries. So this is numbers again. In the interest of time, I'm not going to read it back to you. And then next slide. This is the one we were just at that sort of breaks it down. Urban, rural, on system, off system, bicycle, pedestrian, etc. Since we did talk about this, don't see any hands. Next slide.
That's it.
That's it. Or is that it?
That's it. So your ask was, do you want us to bring this back next month for information item or for adoption?
So by federal rule, after the state has adopted theirs, we have 90 days. So when we bring it back to you next month, it will be for action and we will need to take action. This was the we try when the schedule allows to always bring it to you once as information.
Right.
So that way we have a full month to work out any of the questions, and we have a couple of questions this time, and then we take it back as action. So it was always our plan for this to be information this time, action next time. What I had mentioned was if you were comfortable, because we have done this before, doing it as a consent, sounds like that's not really a viable option. We'll have it on the regular agenda.
Yeah, I think since we have some questions here and they didn't answer.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. All right, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John, is there an or what or and what to these targets? Is there anything tied to the targets that should we greatly exceed? What's, are there triggers that, similar with, the greenhouse gas, ozone emission things where if we don't hit these targets, then there is an or what or an and what. Is there an and what or what with these targets?
Correct. And I will answer that question to the best of my ability. And then Jared had mentioned that, and again, I apologize for saying the name. Bonya Quinn has joined us from CDOT, so he is on the line. So, Mr. Quinn, if I answered this correctly, feel free to turn your mic on and jump in. But the way the safety targets work, again, is statistical, not aspirational, right? So if you don't make your statistics, but because it's like, okay, we can assume a certain amount of accidents, fatalities. If you jump beyond that, what's reasonably expected given the vehicle miles traveled and your population, then the feds are like, okay, well, you obviously have an issue and you are not addressing that issue. So therefore, you're not spending your money on safety projects the way you should be. So the and what then is they don't take your money away, but then they make you take part of your other funds that would otherwise be discretionary on any project you want, speaking as a state at the CDOT level, and then they would prescribe to the state, again, at the CDOT statewide level, that some of the monies then that would otherwise be able to go to different projects would then need to go to safety projects, probably, I assume, through funding of the HSIP program, which is Highway Safety Improvement Program. And so it takes away your flexibility, but it does not actually take away any of your actual funding. So, Mr. Quinn, did I get that correct?
Yes. I think you just described everything correctly.
We're having trouble hearing you. If you could turn your volume up
Can you hear me now?
a little bit louder, please.
Oh, and it doesn't, sounds like it's a Mrs., not a Mr., so my apologies.
How about now?
That's better.
Okay, let's see. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, and I'm just confirmed that what Daniel has described, and really it's what the HSIP program is requiring is not going to take your funding away. I just encourage the county level to use the safety funding to come up with some safety projects to improve your safety issue.
I think reading in the thing there,
Yes,
she had confirmed basically
Yeah.
my answer.
Well, and if numbers have doubled, and if numbers are up to 77 from 45, so essentially 85% up. And if under the influence is up 63% and motorcycles are up 45%, then wouldn't there be some safety money for all the signs on the freeway in El Paso County to do a more targeted advertisement towards watching out for motorcycles, watching out for different things? I mean, I can't imagine that those are things we couldn't target. There's got to be safety money for that.
Yeah, that should be qualified for the safety project.
I think we could also target the motorcyclists not swerving in and out of traffic at 100 miles an hour.
Well, and teenagers, I mean,
Yeah.
I've said before, partnering with Drive Smart Colorado. I mean, we need to work with the teenagers. Our teenagers believe they're invincible. I have a senior in high school. I haven't ever been secretive about that. He has a motorcycle and he has a Jeep. It's like, I really think in order to make a difference, and our traffic is becoming like Denver traffic, it makes a huge difference to push the high schoolers, to push Drive Smart Colorado groups within the different high schools. So there's high school representatives that are posting on social media things that kids will listen to. They're not going to listen to us, and they think the road signs every, 2 exits are funny. So, I mean, there has to be a way to partner to get some of these fatalities down, to get the motorcycle deaths down, and to get driving under the influence down. And that's one thing that I think I mentioned at the same time last year. I don't think we've done a great job at partnering with Drive Smart Colorado to really partner in with the DECAs and the high school groups.
And the SROs.
Mhm.
We feel we're in a much better place now. I mean, Trish has unique experience in this space. When we brought her on board a month ago, she's worked with teens in the driver's seat and other programs doing outreach to schools. With the safety grants that we've gotten, we actually feel pretty good about being able to hit it
Right.
much harder this year.
But as you know as well, working with the high schoolers and working with the teenagers, you have to have some type of a cool factor in there. It's more important than anything, or they're just going to think it's us telling them one more thing.
Yeah, come on up so we can get you on the microphone so everybody can hear you. Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for teens in the driver's seat. One, because it's funded by the Texas Transportation Institute. So we've got the data, we've got the proof that this stuff works, peer-to-peer education. They have enough funding where they offer a $1,200 participation. If the students participate in the program and bring the peer-to-peer education monthly to the school, they receive $1,200 for their club. FCCLA, DECA, STUCO. All I need is the contact numbers of the people in your community, and I will get the program
I'll
in
get
there.
you our Tri-Lakes ones.
They also have a junior high program, which I'm really pushing too, because I think the earlier we target and get the mindset of the students, because sometimes by high school, they think they're, kind of too cool for us. But if we can get in and get that started early, then we have much more success of having them change.
And
their
working with
mindset.
the courts and working with the traffic
Right.
judges, because if my kid went and got a ticket, he hasn't gotten one yet, but if he got a ticket, I would expect him to be ordered to take a class like that.
Right. So just like I said, all of you get me the contact info of someone at the school.
I'll
and
give you that.
Yeah. And I'll get in there and I will get them signed up. We'll get them going. And we've got in our coalition, we've got so many people that want to offer resources. So like I said, that next week we're doing a Drive Safe event at Calhan K through 12, and all of those community members are coming. They're super excited. So we'd love to do that for all of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'd also been, Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, also been, complacency. There's so many people now that are either rude or complacent when they're driving. It's a pain, especially when you get out on a 2-lane highway. Okay, and if we get the younger people men to start going through a defensive driving course, like a Calhan we're doing, okay, or we used to do that back when I was a young guy. Okay, but we should try to find some way, man, to implement that again, so we can get people, men, to start thinking instead of men reacting.
Bless you. And Madam Chair, I agree with all of this, but again, we're moving over towards those aspirational discussions,
Right.
which again, we believe in,
Right.
because we've brought on a safety champion. We're doing all of these safety issues. What we're talking about here is very specific as a federal statistical exercise, performance measures. And if we can just remember, it's a little different. Doesn't mean we don't do all these things.
No, but I think it shows the passion of the people in this room, that we're very concerned about not just moving people around the roads, but getting them there safely, because these numbers are ridiculous.
And again, totally
And I know
agree,
I'm
which
preaching
is
the
why
choir here.
that's why we brought Drive Smart under our umbrella. That's why we brought on Trish. That's
So
why we've done a lot of these things.
We had the 2 questions that you were supposed to follow up with CDOT. Do you want to ask them to the person? I'm not even sure who's on the phone. So.
Yeah.
Excuse me, this is William Shaw, Mayor Pro Tem at Rama.
Okay.
Not trying to be rude and insert myself in the wrong area on this, but I'm 50 years old. Whenever I got my license, the learning curve on everything was totally different than what it is now. We had to actually know what was in the book. And you talk to the average teenager today, and whenever it comes to an on-ramp onto the interstate, they don't understand the whole yield concept. They figure they pull out there and they can just get over because that's what society typically does. They don't understand yield of right-of-way. That causes a lot of accidents. I understand a lot of teenagers don't really know all these concepts, but whenever you have a seasoned adult out there on the road setting that example, there's a problem. And that goes hand in hand with people tailgating. Back in my day, people got a ticket for tailgating. That is a strong point for safety on the road. Whenever you got cars driving 50 miles an hour, less than 10 feet apart down the road, that's just a big pileup waiting to happen. A lot of this, from my experience and what I've seen in my years of being on the road, and I am a CDL carrier, I am a professional driver, so I do have something there to say that I do have an idea of what I'm talking about here. The prosecution in the courthouses plays a big role on this. As some people say, oh, well, if I get a ticket for this, I'll go there and I have to take a class. Big deal. They don't sweat that so much. If they cause a big pileup and they're looking at losing their driver's license for 5 years, then they're going to stop and think about it. So I think all these issues with these fatalities really need to be emphasized on the district attorney's office to push for these prosecutions. And I think that's where we're going to start seeing a bigger turnaround on all this. That's really all I've got to say right now.
But can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I understand with exactly what he's saying, but I mean, wouldn't it be better to work with the DA on if a teenager's learning the wrong rules and doing something like that? I would much rather see a teen enrolled in a class like this than paying a fine. I would rather than pay to take the class. It makes much more sense. It's a learning process.
Yeah, but the seasoned adults are setting the example for these kids. So that's where we need to really get with the DA to push prosecution for a seasoned adult to go out there and set this example. The kids are going to say, oh, well, he did it and it wasn't that big of a deal. Why am I being persecuted? No, it ain't going to be a focus on the kids. Kids need to be taught right. And the best way to teach the kids is by example. And too many adults are out there, they're focused on their agenda only. They're not looking at the overall safety of, they cut this guy off, the guy that they cut off has to slam on his brakes and cause a 6-car pileup behind them. They don't care because they're in front of it, no matter if they cause it or not. So it's leading by example. We need to grow up, be adults, and show our kids the right way to do things. And whenever the adults aren't being prosecuted for anything, for their wrongdoings, they're getting a slap on the wrist and sent down the road. You know, where are we going to start that chain of events to teach the kids the right thing? You know, I understand pushing the kids for classes. The kids do need the classes. I'm all for in full support of the kids learning better driving techniques and how to handle themselves on the roads better. But, you know, it also starts at home too, whenever they see their dad or their mom driving down the road, how they conduct themselves driving in traffic. So it all comes back to district attorney's office putting down actually full prosecutions on things to say, hey, this is not condonable in our society. You're putting people's lives at risk. You know, so I still stand with everything comes back to the district attorney's office. They need to start stepping up to the public instead of playing politics.
Maybe that's a consideration to see if we could get a representative from that office into our Drive Smart board.
The other thing, Sharon, that is interesting is if you look since the pandemic, since prices and everything have gone up, we have a much higher population in Colorado Springs and people moving from Denver and increased traffic in Colorado. So if these fatality numbers are really going up and it's turning into more of a Denver enigma of traffic, there's a lot more we need to do with regards to education, with regards to maybe drive hours. It's encompassing of several different agencies, not just our one. So getting representation, that was one of the reasons why last year I really wanted to work with Drive Smart, is to work on that teenage component and cross it into different agencies to make sure that everybody was on board, because our traffic's only going to get worse. So if our numbers are 77 this year and up from 45, then that should put us around the 130 mark next year.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. These items are fantastic ideas, but I think they should come to the Drive Smart meeting. Okay, we should invite CDOT. We should invite the Highway Patrol. Should invite people, man, actually just develop a positive plan here. Right now, we're just looking at statistics here right now. So, but we need to develop a positive plan here and get everybody's input and come to the meeting. Let's get to it.
Commissioner Elsner has something, but
yeah, I was going to say the Drive Smart board does have the Highway Patrol, the Sheriff's Department. You know, we are, as far as representatives from PPACG, we are the, I don't know, the layman of the group, because all of the other people that are on that board and are involved in Drive Smart come from public safety, one way or the other. So it is a very good board. Again, you know, it was something that was dying. PPACG said, we don't want it to die. We want to bring it back. I think we've gone a long ways in getting it back. And I would guess, you know, give us another year, and I think you're going to see some changes because of the outreach that is now happening. I know I've hopefully going to get Drive Smart into the 2 high schools in Park County. So it's something that we're working on. And I think the program is growing. From near death to it's becoming a very viable organization.
So we don't have a DA representative on that board though. So maybe that might be something the board might want to discuss.
Yes, we'll bring that up. We do not have representation there, and I think that's a great idea. So we'll reach out. But strong public safety component with
Yeah, because we have a teen court in town too, and you know, anything we can do as far as education, you know, getting these kids back on their, you know, the right path. So,
and maybe along with the sheriff, maybe adding a lot of the small town chiefs to the distribution, at least, of Drive Smart, because sheriff's correspondence doesn't necessarily go to Palmer Lake, Monument, the different Manitou, the small town chiefs. Manitou, you know, they're not represented by El Paso County, but with backcountry roads and everything, we all have as much problem with teenagers and driving and can use those classes as anyone else. Maybe they need to be added to the Drive Smart distribution.
Okay,
Yeah,
back to
just
the
to add-
issue at hand of the the safety measures. I think we have settled that we need to, but you had two questions. You
Well,
want to
one
ask
was
them
the-
today, or do you want to wait and have?
One was the motorcycles, and I think we did find a slide that had that, and the other
That was up
question,
45%.
and the other
Right.
question was, what again? I'm still thinking about all
Was
the
if the
stuff.
numbers statistically were changed
Oh, yeah.
because they were reported differently,
they
or if those are
Thank you.
actuals?
So, Boyan, do you know when the numbers jumped in, between, I believe it was 2018 to 2019?
2016.
2016 to 17.
2016 to 17, was that what was the reason for that jump? Was it just, the numbers just suddenly increased and we have a reason why, or was it because there was a change in reporting? Do you happen to know?
I think a number just happened to jump. In reporting method, we have had the same method for the fatality reporting, and I don't see any that changes. I think just numbers just happened to jump.
Well, to contribute to that, in 2016, we had a change of state legislation, and our state legislators decided that they needed a different priority on prosecutions. And I think that's a contributor to the safety on the roads.
Okay, well, I think what I'm hearing is we need to just keep it on as an action item, not as a consent agenda item. So we'll see you next month.
We'll see you next month as an action item. We'll have David Swanka here and we can address that. We'll ask him about that, the number, and specifically if there was a reason for that. But again, the item on that will be on the agenda is not everything. It's whether or not we as a region adopt the CDOT safety targets. And it's a very sort of yes, no sort of question.
Andy, could we also maybe add consider adding a separate item? Are we like having the same wavelength
I'm
there?
thinking a work session, deeper dive, like we were holding in 2023 after the regular board meeting, if folks want to stick around, because we had some really good ideas today. So I think a deep dive work session at an upcoming meeting for sure.
And with Drive Smart and
we can, in fact, if we don't have something for our workshop item for February, I know we had talked about the Transit 101, but hey, let's bump that again. That way, any input we get from that workshop could go into the Drive Smart strategic plan, which we are currently trying to develop. So that might be good timing for all the way around.
Okay. All right. Great conversation. Thank you, everybody, for all your input. Yes.
For next month, can we drag the district attorney down here and make them answer?
I'm going to leave that up to you. I prefer to do things by invitation, not by dragging. So, okay. All righty.
District attorney involvement, I think, is a great priority to set.
Yes. All right. That takes them on to item 6B, Community Advisory Committee Report. Mr. Dills, welcome today. Thank you for coming.
And as Chairman Dills is coming up, just a little bit of a reminder for folks that were on the board a number of years back pre-pandemic. We used to have each one of our committees come and give an update to the PPACG board pretty much every month, and we got away from that when we went online in 2020, and that never really came back. So the thought is that we'd like to have the CAC chair come and brief the board on a regular basis, probably once every like 3 or 4 months, but a couple other committees as well, not all of them, but probably the CAC, our Regional Advisory Council that deals with AAA funding issues, maybe the Commission on Aging, and perhaps the TAC, the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee. So you'll see one of our board or commission chair people at our board meetings each month going forward. So
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I really do.
Keeps everybody in the
Well, I always used to feel really bad when they all sat there for an hour, hour and a half waiting, and they got up for like 2 minutes. But I think the idea of rotating them through, giving a little bit my priority one at a time, I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Didn't notice the light wasn't on. I'm an amateur, I guess. So anyway, I do represent RAMA. I was picked by my peers to be the chair this year. We know we serve you, and anything that we can do to advance and reach out to the citizens, we're more than glad to do it. We want to do it. As far as the report, there's not a whole lot to report on from the last month or so, but the one thing I would like to emphasize, we have built our numbers up. We're getting more representation. Some of the communities here, we need to get a few more. But from that aspect, it's able to get a better dialogue, discussion going and vet the information better. And hopefully we're bringing it forward through Jared and Danelle, getting back to you with what you need to see. And I guess at this point, I would ask if there's anything you want of us, of me, just let us know and we will be more than glad to get on top of it. And we know we work for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in. And I always look through those reports and appreciate, I know you guys have some robust discussions and so.
Lengthy.
Yeah, but that's important. That's what makes it work. I would invite you guys, whenever we settle on a legislative day, if there's anybody who has an interest in your board in that, they're open meetings to anybody and for discussions on things that are going on. So if there's a bill or something that you guys become aware of that is in our PPACG wheelhouse, we'd be more than happy to have you guys drop in on those
We would
meetings.
love to
So,
participate.
they're Zoom. So yeah.
Okay. And I would point out that Welling Clark is first vice chair and Miley Foster is our second vice. So they will probably be engaged as much or more so than I am.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
thank you for driving all the way in.
Well,
for
thank
this
you for
this
the
morning.
opportunity.
Anybody have any questions for the CAC or the CAC board? All right. Thank you very much. All right. That takes us on to item 7, other reports and minutes. PDOT monthly update.
I'm Chair John Hall again, CDOT Region 2 North Program Engineer. The projects on the slide, I just point out we're in the winter season. Not a lot of new construction kicking off. The active projects are pretty well defined, same as last month. The ADA project is the one thing, I think it didn't get added last month, but that's going to be really kicking off in the spring. Ramps down on 85 in the Fountain area, here on Circle and Lake area, 24E, the parkway, the section of 24 between I-25 and Powers. And also Monument. We'll have Monument and Palmer Lake will have a few ramps as well. The biggest thing of interest, those two projects listed as near-term construction projects on the bottom left. Baptist Road, Terrazzo Roundabout, and I-25 resurfacing Midway. So that's basically down there by the Pikes Peak International Raceway area, about 5 miles of I-25. And those are set. I don't believe they've technically awarded yet, but should be any day now they'll get award and shortly thereafter, within a week or two, notice to proceed. Actual work, of course, will begin when weather gets a little better in the spring, probably a little sooner on the roundabout at Baptist Terrazzo, and then a little later on the resurfacing project with paving on I-25 more in the May-June timeframe to really get kicked off. Near-term advertisements, that 67 north of Woodland Park is, again, one of the, and Powers and Airport Interchange is again one of those topics from the previous agenda item I stepped up and discussed potentially using the funds for those two projects. Signal replacement, Woodland Park, that's a re-advertisement, and it is under ad right now. I believe it lets on Thursday, might be the following Thursday. And then the 85 Carson Boulevard T intersection is a little more months out. That's more spring advertisement. I'm glad to take any questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I say that, so those last two, yes, Mayor Pro Tem, those last two. So right now, as it says, likely 2025 construction, but I do want to point out that I'll give Shane some credit, in particular, our region director, right? He's really wants us to look hard to see if we can potentially advertise. It looks like maybe that 24 project. So we're going to be meeting on Friday to see whether we can drum up. And in order, these resurfacing projects, all projects, with the economic environment we're in right now, they're costing a little more than our estimates from a few years ago. So that 24 project, though, is one that we're really going to look to see if we can manage to utilize some FY26 resurfacing funds, because that's what we're to in the region. We've pretty much burned out the 24 and 25, but we're going to see. So more to follow on that. I certainly am not promising we'll get that out the door, but that could be a last project that we do try to get advertised this year I know Shane is definitely interested in trying to deliver, particularly on kind of a more rural side, just on the edge of town, resurfacing in this area.
Yes, Madam Chair, can we make sure at least it gets on 2025 at the top of the list at least?
Well, I think it's, yes, understood.
And thank
Understood. I certainly can't sit up here and just make promises, you know, it's an interesting environment we're in, but yeah, look, it's a priority and it's enough of one for Shane to really want to see if we can get it done this year, even get it still on track for 2020.
I'd like to flag a reserve on that, please.
Commissioner Stone.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, John. Good to see you. Couple questions for you. When we completed the US Highway 24 overlay project or resurfacing project this season, that was part of an original project. Actually, it's two projects. One that started down roughly Cristola up through to I'm trying to think of the Trout Creek Road intersection there where Karis Bible College is, just on the, what would that be, just on the west edge of Woodland Park. That was, I think, piece one. Then piece two was supposed to be from that all the way to Divide for resurfacing, and it was sent out for bids with two options. One was that complete combined project of the two projects, and the other was to shorten the second half of the project to go to roughly just west of Edlow Road, which was completed. But at the time, I remember, and it's been about a year ago, I'd asked Shane, number one is we can't forget about the part that was part of the original second phase of the project, which goes all the way to Divide on resurfacing. And at that time, he talked about the possibility of 2024 funding to be able to possibly kick in to complete that resurfacing. Now, as I'm looking, it's what's being proposed, and that it's kind of dropped off now.
Well, I would just, so I think the easy answer for you is that there is a 10-year capital plan, rural paving project 23 to 26. We certainly have it on the docket. It would take from that west edge of the project that just completed, and it would basically move as far west as we can get. Certainly, we would expect through the town of Divide. It's a question maybe about getting all the way to areas like Lake George and stuff like that. But that 10-year capital project is on the docket. It is
Yeah, just to make sure it's still on the list.
And it is 2025 construction.
Okay,
is what we're looking at. Great. It's not something we can advertise this year, but
right.
But yeah, it's going to be that rural paving funds, I think, that we'd be looking at for that.
Okay, thank you, John.
All right, anyone else comment?
Madam Chair, if I may, John, a question for you. I noticed one of your targeted projects here, pedestrian improvements, 8th Street to 31st Street on West 24. As part of that, I'm wondering, I had talked to Shane some time ago, and actually several times, about the intersection at West 24 and Cliff Dwellings Road. That's a kind of a hazardous intersection there. I think the plan was to put just a small barricade in there to force a right turn. In talking to Shane, I think you said it was such a small project that you were having trouble getting bids and you were going to bundle it with some other work. I don't know if that's come to your attention, but if you could check on that, we would appreciate that.
I can give you I can give you an update on that for sure. So it was definitely, so first of all, yes, adding a project outside of project limits, doing work outside of another project's limits is a challenging endeavor. It takes federal, FHWA involvement, lots of different things. We certainly pursued the idea of trying to fit it in with that resurfacing project that Commissioner Stone just mentioned, and we just couldn't overcome some of those hurdles in terms of getting a good price and getting that in. If I'm completely honest with you, my traffic engineer is a little mad at me for us not, but we tried. They are trying right now. My traffic unit is they're the ones running this. It's our traffic program that's running the pedestrian improvement project. And I know they're working on it right now, seeing again if they can pull off getting with the funding that's available, getting a good good costs from the contractor. So they are certainly pursuing it and trying. I actually just asked for an update on that yesterday, but I hadn't heard anything back yet. So I don't know. Right now it's not, I certainly can't say, oh yes, they are going to be able to change order that in, but they're definitely pursuing it and trying.
Okay, well, I'd appreciate your continued resolve on this. I mean, really, I think in talking to Shane and to, I think it was Jason Nelson.
That's correct.
Yeah, we're talking, I think, a little kind of a pork chop barricade, a fairly minor thing. And I've looked at it and I've had, actually had one constituent who complained about it, and he said, we went to the moon and back. Why can't we put a little pork chop barricade in there? And I didn't have a good answer, but yeah, if you could pursue that, it's a hazard. It's not simply for Manitou, although it's within our city limits, but any westbound traffic on Highway 24 has to pass that intersection. In the summertime, we have basically, tourist people who are not at all familiar with the area trying to make a left-hand turn and come east on 24, and there's traffic both ways at fairly high speed. So we've had a lot of near misses there, and we've had some accidents. So I appreciate your checking on that. Thank you.
All right. Mayor Heavener, did you have a comment? Your light's
No.
on. Okay. I love my new freeway. Thank you so much. Down in Fountain. That is really, really nice. The section that portion that they have open from 128
And you're speaking
to
of the MAMSIT
Academy.
project.
The MAMSIT project. Yeah, that is really nice. But boy, did it ice over the other day. And is that just because it's newer, or just we had one of those, it got wet and froze and snow on top incidents?
Yes. I mean, I certainly don't know of any indication like there's some issue. I mean, it's concrete pavement, but it's, texturized and stuff like that. It's just, we just had a really, that sort of weather event that came.
Yeah. That was shut down for a long
areas.
time.
I know
But it's
I
really
came in
nice.
at about 3:30 a.m. that morning because I wanted to make sure not to be in that weather. And I got lucky. I think as it actually warms up, gets closer to day and warms up, you get that layer of water too and stuff, and just things really get slick.
Yeah, well, it's really nice to drive on it. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the rest of it getting open. So thank you.
I know you probably don't want to hear it again, but the repair on 105 fell apart already.
Well, as I think you guys might remember, we have you all approved $100,000. We're definitely gonna be looking at some more stuff. I'll definitely look into that a little more with our maintenance forces.
Can you turn your mic on?
Because it's fallen apart again since the repair in September, it's already overflowing. So now that there's so much snow on the ground, it's coming up from the creek, going over 105, and it's a sheet of ice. So people are sliding off the road right there. And it's so dangerous for motorcycles, it's not even passable anymore that way.
We're definitely gonna be looking into it. Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hannah.
You. I think
I'm sorry, Commissioner Parsons.
Oh, doesn't matter to me. I wanted to just give an update on probably the biggest issue that I've been involved in and have been contacted by from different stakeholders has been the fiber right of way. And I know Commissioner Vanderwerf brought this up last month. I was not here to give an update on that. But I am on the fiber committee for CDOT and have spent a tremendous amount of time on this issue, learning about all the backstory, understanding the work that CDOT has done, hearing some of the challenges, not just from, I know El Paso County had a urgent issue, and then just hearing from some of the other stakeholders in other parts of the state, also in some of the other districts. It's a very complicated issue, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about it. But I just wanted to give an update on where we are at CDOT and why we voted the way we did, and what I anticipate will come next. So first of all, this is this right-of-way fee structure is something that has been in the works for, I think CDOT had kicked the vote, the commission had kicked the vote several times as a way of trying to get the price down for the fee. The commissioners have had a tremendous amount of legal counsel on this and have been told that both federal and state laws require us to charge a fee for a fair market value fee for use of the rights of way. So with that in mind, what they'd been doing, the staff had been doing over time has been going back and finding other ways to do comparables where they could peg that charge. The latest fee usage charge has come down over 90% from what it was most recently. The things that I think have been most challenging in this process has been charging the same thing to municipalities as you do to private sector. That gets even more compounded when you talk about some counties are actually the provider, so they're competing with the private market. So when you get into all of that, that gets more challenging, and we don't have very clear direction on that. However, when this came to a vote again this last month, we were asked to postpone this vote again. And I can tell you after numerous meetings with staff, committee, and other commissioners, postponing the vote would not have changed the outcome, in my opinion, because the fee was reduced, I think, to the most, as far low as it's going to go. The other thing that was helpful to learn was this is a secondary way that people can contract with CDOT for use of rights of way. So John, feel free to jump in if I misspeak, but I think this is correct. So we actually changed the resolution that we voted on to state that because, for example, El Paso County was in the process of an IGA for a project, and because of the timing of all of the things going on, it felt like, I think, to El Paso County that this was contingent on this new fee usage charge being passed, and that was not true. So the primary way for municipalities to still work with CDOT on rights of way and doing this is still the intergovernmental agreement. That was able to continue moving forward with El Paso County. There was a staff change at CDOT, and the person who was running some of this for the fiber for CDOT moved into the broadband office. And some of the communication on that, I think, just got missed. So I think there was an unfortunate timing challenge with El Paso County. I believe the IGA is back on track and moving forward. And then, so secondary is this new way that you can, partners can contract with the state for use of the right of way. So we did approve that. We voted and approved that usage charge at this last meeting. Now, with all of that said, there are still concerns within the commission about what's being charged, how municipalities are getting charged versus private sector. And there needs to be some clarity, I would say, from a legal standpoint. And so I do know CCI at least was planning to try to introduce legislation. And we at CDOT said that probably would be best for clarity because we don't see a way for us to avoid the use of the fee necessarily, unless you work it out with CDOT separately in a different charge. So I just wanted to give some backstory on that and let you know. Also, CDOT had agreed to come and, the staff on the fiber side are going to be monitoring all projects, reporting every month to the commission on this so that we can see how much of an obstacle is it. Do we need to change it or modify it as we go? Are there things that are, impeding progress? But we had projects on hold, also waiting for this to be passed. So is it the best outcome? For the time, I think it was, and I think there's still work to be done, but that's where we are today.
Okay. Any questions or comments on either one of those reports?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Hannah. And the CCI did adopt as a legislative priority the legislation that you're talking about there. So I would expect we're going to see that being introduced at some point. We haven't had yet our follow-up steering committee meetings on that, but we should get an update probably this week on that. Did have one question, and you may not know, and John, you may not know either, is that with whether it's CBO or whether it's CDOT, is that we're struggling right now with we had an ISP which had a BEAD grant request that went in for the Highway 24 corridor, ultimately was denied this week, and so as a rural county, we're struggling with how to tap into this, this federal money that's available, which it appears that there is more of a priority being placed on kind of a circle loop that is around, I believe, Highway 285 and kind of goes down to Highway 50 and circle. There's like an inner circle, and then there's a broader circle where like the next step is Highway 24. and, making a bigger loop, Highway 24 to extend some of the networks that CDOT has. With the establishment of the CBO, I mean, where are the decisions being guided on that? Is it coming through, your commission, or is that now right completely with CBO? Because we feel like we're kind of on the outside looking in, where we've made a case for it. It's pretty obvious that there's a need, but we have a CDOT fiber line that runs as far as the city of Woodland Park, doesn't go any further, and tried to tried to tap into some of that BEAD money to go further into the county so we can get more fiber, and kind of running into.
Yeah, I think that's a great
roadblocks.
question, and one that we've wrestled with as a commission, because for CDOT as the commissioners, our responsibility is CDOT, right? And so I think that's the challenge. It's been blurry around what, everybody wants to advance broadband, and whose responsibility is it, plan and improve and whatever. And so what we're trying to do is not be an obstacle for people to pull down federal funds and make that possible. But the broadband office is something very different. And so I'll see if John has a response here, but to me, I would say it's moving to it squarely. The CBO would be my opinion. And then our goal at CDOT is not to be to prohibit or put up unnecessary obstacles for making those things happen. John, is that a fair characterization?
As far as I know, yeah, I admit that in a way, just a kind of glazed look. We don't have any projects that are putting in significant fiber right now, or conduit right now, or anything like that. And right, the only thing I would add to what you said, Commissioner, is IGAs and just our regular permitting process. We have an access and permits unit, obviously, and whatever local agencies, whoever is working, putting conduit or whatever with projects. If we're not funding it, then it's actually even less than an IGA. A permit through those units could support getting on our right of way. And I think that's exactly right, Commissioner. As far as I know, it's really just our permits office there in Pueblo being supportive when those applications come in. It is really the nexus we have on the engineering side and at the region level.
Okay, well, that helps me at least to know where to look. So
yeah, I will say also that I'm blanking on her name, but I can get it for you, and maybe John knows, but I don't want to put him on the spot. The person who kind of took over some of the work for CDOT and the fiber right of way work has been incredibly responsive and helpful. So if you have really specific questions on that, she's been amazing to work with, and I can get that for you after this meeting sometime.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll have to look at
Yeah,
that.
I just blanked.
I can see it on the tip of your tongue, but I can't quite read it that far. Okay. All righty. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for either one of them while they're here? All right, Holly, you're up for stack.
Well, I may have to have a little bit of John's help, and I don't know if you were there, Dick, at the meeting. We did have a Region 2 update by Shane Ferguson. That was really good. And I was just getting a cold. I think, did we talk about a freight study?
Yes, we talked about the statewide freight study and how it's coming along. And we had, I thought, a great presentation on asset management, which really gets into a lot of the issues. Everybody's saying, well, why aren't you working on mine? Where's the money? Colorado ranks 47th in the condition of our interstate highways. And we're at, I think it was 3.9% that are in poor condition. If we hit 5% in poor condition, the state loses a lot of its flexibility on how it spends its money, because it then has to go to fixing the highway, the interstate system. So it was a really good report. It kind of opens your eyes as to what I consider the people of Colorado demanding absolutely perfect roads, but not wanting to pay for them. And that's kind of where we keep falling into that. The good news is the bridges, which I'm trying to remember, I think we were 40th a couple of years ago. We're now sitting at 25th. So we're kind of in the middle of the pack on bridges. But, that was the one presentation that I found, other than Shane, because, you listen to him talk about Region 2 and it's perfect. But that was the biggest one that I thought. everybody should be aware of.
Mhm. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was literally under the covers and kind of drifting in and out. So I apologize for that, but we've have 3 of us here who try to keep us all on track. And if Dave can attend, he's there too. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And as always, just please look over current committee and commission vacancies for your different cities and counties. And realize that most of those meetings, Andy, are still being held hybrid, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So other options available. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for those of you who are a little bit further out or the weather turns nasty for any of us, you can always do that hybrid. And Andy, it takes you to executive.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just 2 things real quick and kind of building on a little bit, maybe on the broadband conversation a bit. We had our regional grant navigator position, and I think I reported last month or the month before that Jill stepped down and took a job as to head up the Pikes Peak housing network. So we're going to get started very soon in scoping out the need for what that position is going to look like going forward. There was some discretion as to whether or not the state was going to approve this for a second year of funding. Our initial year runs out in February, just next month, but we did get approval from the state to continue the program until September 30th of this year at least. And if we show some decent progress and interest by our local jurisdictions, there's a really good likelihood that it can be extended, well beyond September as well. So we feel pretty good about that. But just wanted to put out a call to board members that may have an interest in working with me to kind of scope out what that position is going to look like based on what your local jurisdiction's needs might be. One thing we've talked about as well is kind of holding back portion of our money, maybe hiring one primary grant navigator, and this might be somebody that helps with like project development. I think Jill did a really good job reaching out to all the jurisdictions to build a laundry list of different projects and different concept ideas that our jurisdictions have. But maybe at this point, maybe we need to take it to the next level and have somebody that can help advise our jurisdictions on how to get a grant ready and do further project development to get it to a level of design that we're actually ready to start going after grants and such that are out there at the federal level. But we talked about maybe holding back a little bit of money to hire some technical experts where we need it, whether it's in water, wastewater projects, but broadband might be one of those areas as well. If we had a broadband tech expert that could help us identify how do we navigate the BEAD process and other funding sources that are out there and work with the CBO. I know some other regions across the state have broadband experts, and I don't know that we can go to the extent that some of them have, but maybe if we have somebody that can sort of advise us how to get some of these broadband projects on the radar of the state and start competing for the federal dollars that have been allocated down to the state, might be something that we want to scope out a little bit. So if anybody has an interest in working with me and our team to scope out what our grant navigator position is going to look like going forward, just let me know and we'll start getting together. Yeah.
Count me in.
Super. Got you down.
Mayor LaKind.
Yeah, I'm happy to help out from a broadband perspective.
Good. Okay. Perfect. Appreciate that. Good stuff. I'll be working with the city, town, county managers also. Just kicked out an email to them yesterday, just to update on this as well, that we did get grant funding approval to go through September, but trying to find out from them as well what they see their project needs as being as well. Do we need somebody that's more of a technical expert, a grant writer, or all of the above, or anything in between? The other thing I was going to mention real quick, and we sent out an email on this in December, and I've mentioned our regional assembly of our elected officials across all of our jurisdictions. If you haven't had a chance to fill out the poll that's out there for different dates that we've made available, I think we had February 29th, March 14th, and March 28th to try to get together all of our elected officials from across the region. If you haven't filled that out yet, please do so, and we can certainly send that out again to have that link out there as a fresh reminder. But looking forward to convening all of our elected folks and having you all get a chance to get to know one another and help us pull together even stronger as one region. Okay. All right.
Yeah, let's go ahead and send that out again.
Yep. Happy to. Good.
Get it back on the top of everybody's
Yes, for
emails.
sure.
They haven't responded, right?
Yep.
Is it possible to send it out only to those who haven't responded, or is that too?
We can't get that detail. We can send out to those who haven't opened it
Oh,
the
okay.
first time.
All right. Okay, sounds good. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All righty. That's it? Okay. All righty. And that takes us on to member entity announcements. Anybody got anything? Yes.
Yeah, Green Mountain Falls is actually in the preliminary phases of a broadband program. one of the things that was mentioned yesterday with our contractor was a community anchoring institute. And I wasn't sure if PPACG building actually has been identified as a community anchoring institute, but evidently there are speed requirements for basically broadband within those facilities. Basically a 1 gig up, 1 gig down, is what our contractor was telling us. And so I don't know if that's something that's.
I don't think we've been designated. This is the first I'm hearing of it, but yeah, happy to explore it to see what the requirements might be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for our small community, it's our town hall and then our fire department building, which is outside of the town. I mean, it's its own taxing district. And so our town hall is going to have to basically try to figure out how to get 1 gig up and 1 gig down. And it's like, oh, okay. And I think our speeds now are hovering around 70 down and maybe 10 up.
And can you do
Mitch
that
is
on a
looking at me
dial
like he
tone?
knows what that means.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. I mean,
Okay.
we don't have that issue in Monument of Speed, but I'm happy to help investigate and see what I can do to help out.
Yeah, I know the one at my house, they tell me it's 1 step above dial-up. So, on a good day. All right. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Yes.
So we have identified a citizen who would like to be the PPACG rep from the northern El Paso County area. She brings a lot of planning background experience in forestry management as well as other planning. I'm not ready to name her yet. We will name her at our meeting Tuesday night. Also, Monument is suspending all planning applications to be submitted. You can choose to use the moratorium word if you would like to, but we have lost our 5th planning director in 3 years due to, I'll just say, poaching. And so until such time as we have revamped our planning department and gotten somebody who's going to stay for a bit, we will not be accepting new applications for development in the town. And if you know of anybody who is looking, please direct them to our town manager.
And that doesn't mean you're anti-growth. It just means you're.
We just don't have a staff to, yeah, we're not anti-growth. We're not anti-development. We've got a lot of projects that are already in the books. We're hiring a contractor to help support that, a contracting agency. But the staff cannot accept more applications at this point.
Okay. Thank you. All right, anyone else? Yes.
Just as for those looking for wintertime activities in Teller County, the ice castles have been crazy, unbelievably crazy, because a lot of people are now combining going to the ice castles with going up a little earlier in the day and going and seeing, Rita the Troll, because it's not too far away from there also. Be aware, though, is that the dramatic success of ice castles has dramatically impacted all the restaurants in Cripple Creek. They are packed every single day of the week, and it's a wonderful thing, wonderful problem to have. But be aware, if you head up for these things, is you might be waiting a little while if you're wanting to stop off and get a table at a restaurant and warm up after going to the ice castles. Interestingly enough, beginning in February is the Ice Festival. I don't know where we're going to put all the people, but we do have a brand new Chamonix hotel and casino which just opened up, and my understanding is it's, when you look at room count, it's the 3rd largest hotel in the Pikes Peak region. So they got a lot of rooms to fill. So if you're planning to come up, you might look at booking a room in that or other hotels up there. But there's a lot of things going on in Cripple Creek this winter, unlike kind of almost back to pre-pandemic times. They kind of stopped everything during the pandemic because of how much their budget was hurt. But they're back at it, and there's a lot of cool things going on up there. So I just want to let everybody know to, number one, be patient. Wear layers. It is cold at nearly 10,000 feet, and even more so when you're standing inside an ice castle. So
Rita is in the county or the city?
Rita is located in the county. It's on Highway 67 between Cripple Creek and Victor, about halfway. If you're familiar with the really huge tall bridge, right as you pass the closest point to the mine, it's just past that on it's called Spruce Mountain Trailhead, and you kind of turn there and go up to the top of the hill, and it's a little bit of a hike there, but it's an amazing view from up there. First off, just you can look out to the San Grande Cristos and Sawatch Range, and it's an amazing view from up there. But Rita is pretty cool. If you have,
I had somebody contact me over the weekend that they were really frustrated, not only themselves, but the 6 cars that followed them around trying to find Rita. And so they were asking if there could be maybe a little bit better signage by the road, because they just found it really difficult to find it.
There is a new sign that went up, but
and then I guess once you turn off, everybody was kind of wandering around too.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
It's located on private property. It's located on actually land that's owned by the mine. So they own that road as it goes up the hill there's a small parking area, and I think they're probably going to need to expand that parking area, because just during Labor Day weekend, there were 11,000 people that visited Rita. And from my understanding is we're starting to push back up into those double or 5-digit numbers again on weekends with the ice castle. So it's crazy busy despite how cold it is.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What a nice problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Yes.
Yes, Madam Chair. I just want to congratulate Eric Stone for whipping the Big C. Good
yes.
job.
Woo.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very exciting. Yeah. All righty. Barring anything else, we are adjourned.
Thank you.